Well, Your Eminences, the Venerables, distinguished guests, and my colleagues and ladies and gentlemen, first I would like to say that I'm very honored and also very delighted to be back in Bhutan, and thank you for inviting me to participate in this conference. Today's talk is about ethics and meditation in education. It's a continuation of a project I started years ago in Australia, and I reported in the previous conference and published about that. So let me just give a background what I'm talking for a minute or two before I proceed. So first of all, as you all know, Buddhist meditation has been throughout Buddhist history of 2,500 years or more an integral part of Buddhist path to liberation, and it was always closely linked to ethical training. So it's a part of the Eightfold Path as well. It was in Buddhism defined as mindfulness was only one component of the Eightfold Path, and always presented that in conjunction with clear comprehension and discrimination, it is the foundation for wisdom to arise, as well as it can act as ethical guardian of our senses. To skip now into the travel to the West, so in the 19th century, the West got acquainted with Buddhism and Buddhist practices, and in the 20th century, somehow slowly mindfulness became presented as the main method of Buddhist meditation, one of the main methods, and became more and more popularized and more secularized, until it was completely taken out of its Buddhist context and was viewed as a meditation method on its own, mindfulness in a secular sense, being defined basically more or less like paying attention to the present moment, non-judgmentally, and so forth. So within this new context, mindfulness started to be applied in all secular spheres, starting with psychotherapy and then going to the corporate world and finally to education. Of course, a lot of research has been done on the efficacy of this new model of mindfulness that shows overall moderate effect size. So there are definitely benefits such as stress relief and greater well-being by practicing a little bit of mindfulness in this new understanding of it. In the last decade or so, mindfulness programs started to be introduced for youth and children and in schools. And all the existing mindfulness training programs for young people largely replicate the programs for adults. And the research shows a rather smaller effect size than for adults currently, because it looks like they are just modified simply. They are taught in schools by mindfulness instructors or sometimes by the classroom teachers. It can be taught within school hours or outside schools. Usually it would be a meditation for 10 minutes or 5 minutes or something like that. This is the current situation. In the last decade, also mindfulness programs started to be introduced for educators themselves, because there is no secret that teachers' profession is extraordinarily stressful worldwide, and teachers started to practice themselves. Of course, they have very limited time to do any meditation practice, and therefore programs are rather short, actually, and some programs focus only on teacher training, and some other programs, I give you the examples of those, some programs incorporate some instructions that the teacher could implement in the class as well. Typically, these courses are conducted and taught almost entirely online today. So you could do the whole meditation training, teachers training online with some face-to-face sessions. That has huge implications, of course, because that means one model fits all. So there is a course online, and irrespective of the cultural background and so forth, people apply the same method. Needless to say, all these programs were developed either in the United States or United Kingdom. So all other countries have to translate in their own languages and cultures. So research is very new on this, so we have no results apart from that if teachers do find time to do a little bit of meditation, they are less stressed. So now I should like to go to the new program we are developing in Australia. It's a couple of years ago, we started to teach meditation where we try to broaden not only mindfulness, but a broader context of ethics and sort of drawing a lot from Buddhism, and we introduced those courses in high schools in Australia. Then, after that, I conducted a research and published in the last publication here in Bhutan. After that, we also started, because teachers expressed the need to be trained themselves. So we started with small seminars for teachers and workshops in Australia, in Wollongong, it's south of Sydney. These workshops were too short after evaluating them, like 2-3 days, and we last year decided to embark on a big project, which I want to report today here about. It's still in being finalized. This is the program Meditation and Ethics for Educators. It was initiated last year in 2017 by a group of international researchers among 4 countries, 3 European countries, Spain, Finland, and Slovenia, and Australia. And currently, I have 3 postgraduate students from Bhutan who are studying with me Buddhist studies, master's degree, and they all 3 are very, very much interested to be a part of this project, and hopefully it can even reach Bhutan. So that's why I'm reporting here about this. So the whole plan was, and the aim, I should say, is to develop a program for educators, for teachers themselves. So we are focusing to teach teachers. I mean, in a broader sense, not only school teachers, but any educators in the field. And we want to include in this program meditation as well as exploration of ethics and values. And they are, because I believe, with my long Buddhist background, that they are inseparable. So this is an important aspect. And we are trying to train teachers to creatively implement in their educational settings in a culturally acceptable and appropriate way. So if we implement in Bhutan, we would use different stories, different examples than in Australia. Also, we have written a sort of first draft of a manual, which we plan to publish hopefully next year for educators. And most exciting for me, we are developing university program for students of education. So it's appropriate for education colleges, and we will start it in next year at the University of Wollongong, Faculty of Education, as a subject for future teachers, as well as postgraduate subject at Nantian Institute under Buddhist Studies. So this is the plan for this program. So the main aims are to creatively respond to current social issues. I won't list how many they are, from incredibly increasing greed through consumerism to conflicts, identity clashes, and so forth, and of course violence, which we even witness in schools and so on. So we try to address these issues at a deeper level, trying to understand, sorry, I should go on, yeah. We are trying to understand at a deeper level what are the roots of this large scale of human suffering that we are facing today. So not only how to feel a little bit better, but to question why is it happening, and of course perhaps offer young generations new options and new views how to solve these problems. We are inspired by Buddhist teachings, and we see meditation not only as a remedial method to alleviate symptoms, such as stress, of course, but view it as a kind of more holistic life skill, which is strongly linked to ethical values and hopefully can lead to deeper transformation of students, teachers, as well as perhaps educational system. So the program is not fixed, one model fits all. We allow a lot of space for creativity in different cultures. Already we see, like in Spain, they will use different examples, different training compared to Australia, for example. And so I can imagine in Asia it would be even more different. So we try to explore how to embed meditation and ethical sensibility in the classroom, not only as a separate activity, but to embed it in the entire teaching process. And of course, first to train teachers, because as we know, teachers are the ones who modeled it, not only verbally, but most of the teaching is anyway transferred non-verbally in the classroom. So that's why I think teachers are the most important. 5 minutes, thank you. So it also hopefully serves as a venue for an investigation of new approaches or perhaps methodologies in education, because we see that today's education has a lot of problems. So quickly, we have structured 10 modules, which will cover a university course for 1 year for educators, or in more intensive manner, 1 semester subject. It can be enlarged or shrunk a little bit. It can also serve as a model for professional development. In Australia, school teachers need to take certain hours a year of professional development. So and we have registered, so they're already taking these courses. So it introduces meditation. We have a strong emphasis on cultivation of kindness and compassion, different methods of meditation on this topic, then about mindfulness, how it is connected to values and ethics. Then we talk about breath, the significance of breathing and meditation on breath, daily life movements. I'm just giving you a little bit of the content here because I have to rush, I know. 3 minutes or something?
4.
4, oh good. So then a contemplation of the body, thoughts, emotions, inquiry into life, and about interrelations. A problem, is there a separate individual at all? So we address all these questions. Now, what is important, each of these 10 modules I listed has 3 components. One component is theoretical. It's all for teachers, to be well informed. What is meditation? We give them a background about ethics and meditation from Buddhist as well as from other perspectives, like European perspective, which comes from ancient Greek concept of ethics. We educate them broadly and encourage a lot of reflection, creative responses, and challenging preconceived attitudes, clinging to certain views, and explore that. So this is 1/3 of each module. The second third is practical instructions for educators, for teachers. These are quite clear guidelines on how to implement meditation in their lives as a sort of separate practice, sitting practice, like whatever time they can have, but also how to implement in action in their daily life. Because we are so much aware that today young students, school children spend most of their day life in school. So teachers are the ones that they model how to respond emotionally to the world, more even sometimes than parents. 2 minutes, yes. So then the third component of this structure is implementation, ideas, how to implement what teachers learned in their teaching. Here we give, for different 3 age groups, different examples and strategies, like for the little ones, preschool, then for junior, and for high school. Sorry, I forget, I know, yes. Yes, thank you. So for 3 age groups, for preschool, for juniors, and for high school. Then we include different concrete meditation methods for little children. It could be through games, through creativity, the storytelling. Here, the cultural background is very important. Like in Bhutan, you would certainly use different stories about compassion than we would use in Australia, where we use a lot of Aboriginal stories and also all kinds. So here we open a lot of, keep space for creativity of teachers themselves. Now I will have to skip all the examples. Yes, I'm aware. If you give me 2 minutes, I promise I will get there. Okay, so to conclude, what is the basic core question that I've been personally interested, and also the whole program tries indirectly and directly to investigate is, what kind of knowledge and information do new generations need? And what should education deliver? That's the question. Because we are in a unique situation, I think, that today, even in my lifetime, I can see the change. Today, the new little ones will face an enormous environmental crisis. They will face problems that are unprecedented if this consumerism continues as it is. So Buddhist perspective is pretty clear here. Even in the earliest sutras, we read that the knowledge that is worth knowing is the knowledge how to be liberated from ignorance and suffering. All other knowledge comes later, you know, the simile of the poisoned arrow. So, therefore, we view meditation not only as a supportive tool to maintain business as usual in education, but to probe into deeper questions about why we suffer, what are the causes and conditions. So we view meditation and ethics as foundations for deeper transformation, as a potential. So we open, at least to provide seeds for the teachers and hopefully for the students to plant seeds that there are other ways. That's not just the one way that is delivered in today's education. And the main components of the program are inspired by Buddhist teachings. Here it's a problem in the West. Do we articulate and to what degree? As you know, you can be aware, because of secular education, like in Europe, especially for some countries like Catholic Spain, we have different challenges. Although surprisingly in Australia we do not have these challenges. People are very much embracing actually Buddhism, and we didn't have any problems there. However, here are quite a few of Buddhist components like loving kindness, compassion, ethics, mindfulness. Even we try to develop methods how to present dependent origination in a way that even young people can understand, and so forth and so forth. So why am I presenting this in Bhutan? Of course, not only that I have quite a few students from Bhutan who are interested in this project, but also this is the only Vajrayāna country in the world, the only Buddhist country, and it was never colonized, and also, that's why it retained its old form of Buddhism. And also, education has, I'm finishing, yes, I promise. And education was, Western type of education is rather recent phenomenon, a few decades. And therefore, I think here it's a wonderful opportunity perhaps to ponder, and I invite you into that Bhutan could contribute in the area of education. Like Bhutan got so renowned with gross national happiness model, and everyone
Thank you very much.
World.
I'm sorry, I must call it to a stop
and
now.
So I'm inviting you for that. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.